Hey folks, welcome to our latest, and I feel like this is a weekly basis now, another emergency episode, emergency recording put out there. After yes, another weekend, 2 games in the bag, but we're not going to start with that, are we? Because we couldn't have timed this better. We sent up the bat and signal yesterday that we were going to do a recording because I think we were all had feeling similar feelings after the weekend action and felt like we needed a therapy session together, which is really what this is ultimately, folks. It's just a little bit of therapy for us as clan fans. It's it's cheaper than paying for the therapy. So yeah, and then what, a matter of 2 hours, just over 2 hours ago, we get some breaking news. Hello, Jeff. Breaking news. Yeah, and we have had a departure from the clan management team that has been an issue that's just been always floating in the background of this podcast and with the fans, we feel. So that's now come to a conclusion. So we're going to have to start there. And listen, I'm just going to be upfront. Outrageous amount of conversation on Twitter and Facebook. We absolutely love it. I've read every single message, thread of messages and conversations. So look, I'm going to try and draw the theme. I've got a good handle of the themes. We'll tackle the themes. We're not going to be able to read every question, or this would be an all-nighter. So yeah, but I'm absolutely loving the conversation. Great to see clan fans discussing what they think, what they feel. That's what we're all about. We love to hear people's different opinions, whether they're the same as ours or different or whatever it is. So thank you to everyone. We will hit on all the main topics. Anyway, no pleasantries tonight, boys. I don't really care how you all are. I probably know how you all are. Colin, I'm going to start with you. Colin's been doing the hey ho, the witch is dead dance. So Colin, reaction to Gareth's departure. We probably know where you might go with this, but you can give us your initial reaction and we'll get the thoughts of everyone else.
I'm pretty happy with it, to be fair. Like, I don't care whatever bullshit the club have spun or whatever else. He has been the constant we have had through new owners, we've had through here, there and everywhere. So for me, it's a good decision. I couldn't give a shit what he's done in the past. He's not done anything for me in the long run. So yeah, I'm glad he's gone. I don't give a fuck about him, to be fair. I'm glad he's gone.
Well, love it. Nice and concise, Colin. That's I love that. Chris, what about you? What's your? I mean, look, Chris, you've been out of all of us. You're the clan OG fan. So you've been a fan and overseen all of Gareth's tenure, and what's come before that, right? So, what's your reaction or feelings to Gareth's departure being announced today?
Well, I mean, I guess if you look at where the club's at on the ice, certainly we've taken a lot of strides off the ice in recent years, last year and a bit. However, he is synonymous with failure in terms of the club has regressed from being a top 3 team to being very much a bottom 3 team as it looks right now.
Okay, Phil.
I just think after Mickey read the Clan for the Stands thread yesterday, I don't think he'd any choice but to give the crowd a head.
Okay.
Last year it was Morgan. We're not even at the end of the season. And this year it seems to be Gareth was a sacrificial lamb at this point. So not surprised. I think when we signed, when the takeover happened, there was a lot of folk wanting Gareth away at that point. But I think there was a couple of us on this had said that it was there basically and he was going to help with the transition of ownership. That's what's happened. We're a year and a bit later and it was time for him to go. How much of the playing stuff and all that was to do with him, we'll never know, but I don't think it was his fault. That's just my personal opinion.
Okay.
We are where we are, not because of Gareth this year.
Yeah. So again, I understand. Look, this is a mixed feelings from fans here, and I think yeah. But my honest opinion, and this is based on conversations I've had over the years. I think you're right, Phil. I think if I'm Mickey O'Rourke, there must be a sense of frustration right? In terms of like, look, you can see, look at all the comments on Twitter and Facebook. You can see that how the fans are feeling. Like that just permeates upwards, right? So you must be, I'm sure if you asked Mickey when he took over the clan, was last season a huge surprise or disappointment, obviously, and decisions were made, but I just don't think you would have anticipated this, right? So I do think there is, like, Phil, there's maybe truth in terms of the change. I don't know if this is a change that he planned, and maybe it was, have people in situ for a period and assess things and get to know everything. But yeah, I think where I probably disagree with people is that I think there's two things. One is, I'm pretty sure that we wouldn't have a hockey club if Gareth Chalmers wasn't at the clan. That's what I'm pretty sure of. So there's an element of gratitude that I think every clan fan should have, regardless of your opinion. I think that's just something people need to realize. And I think a lot of the work he's done over the years has been very thankless work. Now, I'm not saying that he's been perfect either. There's things I would, happily, openly say. I think these things weren't handled well, communicated well. We've all been clan fans for long enough, and Gareth definitely was part of that group at the time. And I think that's part of the reason why people feel the way they do. I do also think, though, since the new ownership, like, my understanding is that Gareth's involvement or influence with what you're seeing on the ice is relatively little to none. So I think what I would say to people is try and divorce yourself from those two things, right? So it's like I'm with you, Phil. Like Gareth leaving and moving on for whatever reason that's happened, whether it's a mutual thing, whatever has happened, we don't know. We only know what's been communicated. I don't think this is got a huge bearing in terms of what's happening on the ice. I do think.
Agree with that though. I think, like, if you look at everything that's changed, right? So we've had new owners, new managers. Nothing has changed, right? Nothing at all. He has been the only constant since there to now, right? Regardless of not having a hockey club without him or whatever else, right? But if you look at the process from where he's been and where we are now, to Chris's point, we have regressed. We've never went that way. We went that way. And we've bulleted managers. We've got rid of players. We've actually changed owners as well. And he is the only constant throughout all this. So for me, he has to be doing something. He doesn't just sit in an office all day with his thumb up his arse. He must be in charge of doing, whether it's a management structure and who has he got a thing about that? Is he pulling players in? Whatever they tell you is nonsense, because he also told us when that signing that never was that happened that he wasn't there anymore, when that was bullshit and he was around in the background, when he should have probably walked at that point. So for me, it's been a long time coming. So whatever he has been, regardless what people think, he has been the constant from there to now, right? And we haven't went anywhere. So he's the only change that can now happen that has to force improvement somewhere along the lines, because he has survived through change of owners, bulletin managers and everything else. He must be doing something, because otherwise what have we just been, is he just been absorbing money for doing nothing? So he's not like immune to blame at any point here. He has the owner. The owner's obviously seen something or something's happened, because to make that decision of a GM is quite a big thing. So there must be someone there that's going to be better, or we've got to that point and we thought, what is he actually doing? Nothing. So they've got rid of him. So it's a business decision.
Yeah,
is he still general manager?
No, at all. Like nothing. He's gone out the arena and everything. He made an announcement about.
No, he was never general manager. He was managing director of the arena.
Can I blame him for something that wasn't even his job there? Is that right? He wasn't a general manager when he went.
Was he not?
No, he's not. Look,
now.
When the changes were made,
Before he left.
Yeah, before he left, look, again, from my understanding, and again, I'm only quoting things that I have confidence in, that I believe I've been told by people that I trust. Gareth historically did have more of a, and actually I was frustrated back then because I think had more of a hand in terms of I think he had a background, obviously being in the agent world, and certainly was involved in some respect to, and again, that varies, I think, coach to coach. So again, I don't disagree with that point, Colin. I think that there's been seasons where you could say, yeah, I'm sure Gareth is part of that committee of people that, assembled the squad. Then he has a part to blame, or a part of blaming that if it doesn't work out. I think what has happened since the takeover, it was made pretty clear after everything went down that Gareth's role was different now. and is a lot more distant and very distant from like what you're seeing on the ice. This is Corey Nielsen's team, right? And so I think the constant. I know what you're saying. I just think that's a little bit of a lazy argument, in my opinion, because the constant's been change. The constant at plan has just been constant change, and that's part of the problem. And look, yeah, I think. Look, I understand. I'm not saying what I would say.
Transition. So if he's
what I would say,
he has a constant. Doesn't matter.
Let me finish. Just what I would say though is that the what you did say that I think was valid is that this move to. It seems to me like Mickey O'Rourke has basically looked at it and said, "I need somebody in situ who is gonna," because this idea of having a GM now, to me, it's a very different role than what the role that Gareth's departing. From my understanding, that's a very different role, and I think it seems like I would be interested to see who ends up in that position. But I would bet your bottom dollar it's going to be somebody from the hockey world that is going to direct things in a way from that, and I think this has been the problem, right? I don't think we've never had somebody whose job it's been will help out with the recruitment, and I think it's been a little bit unclear. So it does seem like there's a change in the thought process there, and it looks like it's like, well, we don't need two of these people, so he's gone.
See, just before you move on to this, right? Like Colin was saying, we've digressed the whole time, and he's been the constant. And that's fair enough. I respect his opinion on that. But the clubs went, in Gareth's term, the clubs went from 2000, and this is just like an overall picture. The on ice, I don't really blame Gareth. I don't blame him at all for any of that. The last 2 years, certainly, anyway. But we went from 2,000 to 3,600 full houses almost every week now. The game night experience is amazing.
That's down to the owner, though.
And sorry,
the new game night experience.
All the bad stuff.
Not down to Gareth, otherwise it'd happen.
All the bad stuff is only the bad stuff he's done.
No, but he's not in charge of the game night experience.
That's a bad thing. That was Gareth. That's a good thing.
The owner, it's clear the owner came in. He's a partner. Like he's got.
Gareth never had any partner in that.
The guy owns he's got an arena. It's nonsense, Phil. You can't say that Gareth's responsible for that. It's down to the owner coming in and doing that.
But it was that's what I'm saying. If it's a good thing, it's the owner. If it's a bad thing, it's Gareth. But nobody knows.
No, but
and anyway, so if 3,600 coming through the door, I know that doesn't help us on the ice, but you can't say everything he done was just bad. I mean, if you're going to say the constant is Gareth, well, Jerry's been there the whole time. Is it his fault? How's it not his fault?
He's not been here there as long as Gareth.
When he does interviews, I don't think you can just put everything at his door. That's all I think about it. I think that's quite tunnel vision for every bad thing that's went wrong at the club. Gareth gets the day.
Phil, the increased attendance absolutely helps the on ice product because it finances it, right? So it's like there is an element of finance there, like that does help. Like in terms of like you generate more income, you can be more competitive. That's just how it is. But again, I'm like you. Look, I do agree. I think when I was in my earlier Clan fan days, when Gareth came to the team, I was a bit. I was definitely more like I don't know how much value this guy's at because I heard lots of whisper. He's very much the one that puts together. These are the players we should go. And at that point, I agree, very culpable, and that was my opinion at the time, and I won't change that because I haven't heard anything to tell me otherwise. Right, in terms of that was what was going on. I think that you feel the recent times. I think he's got this is what I want people to realize. I really don't want people to sit there and think. This is fundamentally going to have the only way it's going to have a positive impact on the on ice product is if we get a GM. You look at other clubs that have done it, like Nottingham have done it. There's other clubs that have done this, and you get somebody that comes in and they're like proper kind of like general manager, but they understand hockey. They have an input on the coach, the style of hockey. It's like I don't know that that's what we're going to. I'm making an assumption here. Then
we won't see until next year anyway now.
Well, the thing is, Colin, what I'm thinking is I'm Mickey O'Rourke, I'm going, okay, wait a minute, guys. I've come in, we've gone and said, Jason Morgan, he's the best guy, right? This is the guy we're going to get. It's not worked out. Then we've gone, no, okay, we made a cock up of that. We're going to go to Corey Nielsen, right? Because he's tried, tested, like Chris said, you know what you're going to get. Ron Seal, does exactly what it says in the tin, right? We've got a bigger budget. We're going to spend more. We're going to get better players. And we're in a similar situation, right? So I think this is where I'm making the assumption that the owner's gone, this isn't working for me. He's not a hands-on owner either, right? Because we know how much stuff he's got going on. So he's like, look, I need to be able to delegate to somebody that I know is going to get this thing pointed in the right direction. And that's what it feels like to me, because I don't think Mickey O'Rourke is he going to have a conversation with Corey Nielsen about like style of like?
No, that's what Murph's there for, isn't it? Murph's his go-to guy.
Well, this is my other point, Colin. So I think what's happened is, look, we all know since Murph's come in, look, Murph has been around the league, has been around hockey, right? We know that. To me, there's a big difference between like in the roles he's been in than to the role he was brought in to do at Clan. And I do believe, I think he himself admits that it's new for him, right? And he's learning, right? So I do think there is this deficit, saying maybe this is a move to say we need some extra help in there, right? And Gareth's roles become, because Gareth was very much about the arena and all that stuff. I think all that's been okay. Look, some of the communication stuff around ticket, like I'd be surprised if Gareth doesn't have some involvement in some of those things that have frustrated us. So I'm trying to be balanced, and like you found, like, look, I absolutely will say things that I think I can trace back. Go, you've got some blame in some of those things. You weren't perfect, but I do think I just want people to realize that I do think that the club was close to like not being a club, and without guys like that, whatever you think of in person, it doesn't really matter. You have to be thankful for at least that. That's what I'd say. And then look, do I think it's probably best for both parties? Probably. I think it probably is the right decision.
Yeah.
Is it a bit overdue? Maybe. Like, could it have been made 2 years ago? When the ownership changed, maybe. But again, Mickey maybe wanted to get Murph in, suss the place out, make sure we keep things ticking over. But yeah, look, it is what it is, and we move on. And I'm more interested in this GM role. I want to see what kind of, do they go and get an ex-player like Nottingham did? Like they pinched our player, didn't they? Put him in the GM role, I think. Is that right? Doucette?
Yeah. So
that's what I'm anticipating. Maybe Dyson's coming back, Phil, as the GM, huh? Or call him Big Fitzy. Get Fitzy back in as GM. But maybe it is it's like I want somebody that's got and is able to manage the, and to me, I think like you said, Phil, if I'm Mickey, I'm like, I'm not worried about the commercial side of things. Jerry's doing a good, like that's going up and up and up and up and up, right? Yeah. It's the other side of things that's the problem. It's the sports side of things that's the problem here, right? Mm-hmm. So I just wonder if this is what it is, because Gareth's not that guy. Gareth's not a GM of a hockey. Like I don't think Gareth would claim to be that, right? Although that's Gareth's main skill set, right? But it's like that's maybe what I would say that would be a good thing, because at the moment we've tried the whole, okay, we'll have somebody like Gareth feeding players. Then it's like, Corey, okay, we'll do the opposite. I'll recruit my whole roster and I'll do it my own way. And we're not in a great spot either, which is interesting.
Didn't look happy the other night. I watched him, so there was Jerry, Gareth and him, and then after the end of the first, Gareth disappeared, and then there was just Jerry and him, and he did not look a happy bunny. And quite right, it was utter garbage. So
Colin was sending us like zoomed in photos of like Mickey O'Rourke. He says, "Look, he's got a tear in his eye, boys."
He didn't look happy, and quite right, because he can see what we're seeing. But like I said, we won't see a difference now until next year. Maybe they're looking at it thinking, get someone in now, get them to suss the club out, see what it's all about, and then how do we progress it? So I think it's a good move. So in my opinion, I've always said I think that was the biggest problem, and I might be proven wrong next year, but I really do think it'll be a good for us moving forward.
There we go. Well, let's not transition as nice. So I would just say, yeah, good luck wherever you're going to do, Gareth. Yeah, it's one of those things. Things move on. You mentioned that, look, the owner not being happy seeing what we see. We originally put this out because of we had the Sheffield 2 home games again. We thought we'd made Rayhead Arena a bit of a fortress. The wheels are coming off a little bit on that. We obviously had a really strong start against Sheffield and then capitulated in that game. And then we obviously the overtime loss to Manchester, which was again a tough one to take given the standings and probably I think what's hit home with a lot of fans after that game on Sunday was the reality of where we are, right? I think Colin, you text saying it's two kind of average to poor teams, like, you know, to kind of average, you know, it's like you kind of go from there, you go, oh, and you realize, yeah, to your point, Chris, we're still in this bracket here, right? We've not moved up a bracket, which is what we'd all hope for this year to say, or at least be, you know, close to being touching distance of that next bracket. And I think that's obviously what's happened. So that we had a load of messages, conversations online about what's going wrong. Colin, I'll start with you here again, because I know you were, I wish I could just read out the WhatsApp conversation. Colin was absolutely fizzing last night, fizzing. So listen, Colin, this is why we're here. There's no, no names, no pack drill. Just give us it straight up. Like, how are you feeling? Like, you know, tell us how you're feeling after that weekend.
I went to the Sheffield game, started off brilliant up until the last 2 minutes of the second period. And then, I mean, Bo has a 5-hole bigger than my front door. So that was a soft goal that went in, and you can actually see the defenders react. Then the second goal, when the boy goes to shoot, he's too busy concentrating on shutting the 5-hole, and the boy goes high. So after that, we just genuinely looked as if we kind of collapsed. Now, when you look at both results, even against Manchester, both games were boring, right? Like, as in, there was a couple of big hits. Now, Corey Nielsen mentions about we're a physical team. We're as soft as shit. That's what we are, right? Because you see other teams crashing us. Manchester done it. The big boy Simpson done it to us a number of times. Nobody done anything. Oh, these guys are getting penalties because they're being more physical. Bollocks. We're a soft team. So-called hard men that you want to do anything, do absolutely nothing. And then you actually look at us when we've got the puck, and it's almost as if we're playing keep puck. We're just skating about and we overplay all the time, constantly. And it's frustrating to watch. They always take too many extra touches rather than do something with it. And maybe to go back, I can't remember who mentioned it a couple of sessions ago. We spoke about it. We don't have anybody that sits in that blue line that has an absolute zinger of a shot that literally creates chaos in front of the net. Every team that comes to Braehead, it power plays anything, they'll blow it back to the blue line and somebody will hit it like a rocket and it will go through whatever's in front of us. We have nothing like that. But when you watch it, the team just has no fight. There's nothing there at all. They compete for like maybe a period, think that's it done, and they have all the high fives and everything walking off. We're a team that is unbalanced. The boy Berry we might as well send him back because he's added nothing since he's come in. In the past, I think we've won 2 now in 10 games. We're in the form table, we're 1 point ahead of Fife in the last 5. That's a shambles considering what we've spent in that team. So it is so frustrating when you go to these games and you go out with a damp squib. It's shocking.
Wow. There you go. Phil, how are you feeling?
I look at the Sheffield game. I wasn't paying for that shite last night after watching another collapse. I couldn't manage this weekend of the weekend. So, I mean, I seen there was only like 6 tickets left on Saturday. So I wasn't getting to the other. So anyway, got the webcast for it. And it started like every other home game, or most home games, nice and rosy. We were looking comfortable. Again, Sheffield weren't impressing me at all. I'd said that to you like halfway through the second. And then, as Colin said, that our arse collapsed after they get 1 back. So that our arse collapsed at 2-1 to us. I don't understand that at all. You'd expect bite back to protect your lead even harder, and they scored like 30 odd seconds after it. It was that the kind of one through traffic over his shoulder. Not even that much traffic, right enough. So yeah, this team of ours is probably the worst. I said this to you guys, probably the worst front runners that the Elite League has ever seen. And it's been a trait of clan teams for the last 3 years, 4 years anyway. This team's got the ability to see those games out whereas the teams in years gone by probably wasn't, or maybe getting a lucky couple of goal lead. But I do believe that the players are there are good enough to protect that lead. But my
We've got
God,
nothing to gain it though.
they're so fragile mentally. It's pathetic.
But see if you freeze every team over the weekend, just tried to freeze out Uli. See when you do that, we can't score. I mean,
he's one man of 14. You're right.
Finlay played well, right, against Sheffield.
That isn't an excuse for that happening. Like
No.
if they put Uli over the boards and out the game, does that mean we throw away a league?
We've said it though.
We need to be better than one man. Do you know what I mean?
We said it though. The balance of the team is shocking. And when we all had said when Hayden and to Ross's dismay when Hayden left, like we've brought in a guy Berry who is already similar but worse than what we've got. He's not a goal scorer. We were crying out for somebody to put the puck in the net, and we've not done that. So who made that decision? We also made a waste of a space where we let his son have a warm-up to go to America, and that's a waste in import space we've used. So because of all that, like, absolute nonsense at the start of the year to get somebody in quick for a short term is now harming us now. We lack a goal scorer. We're letting goals in for fun, but we're still not scoring goals. We still need to put the puck in the net.
Well, Colin, our good friend Raymond Monaghan, don't you just share a little stat? Berry, 1 goal, 7 points in 14 games. Gary Hayden, 5 goals, 12 points in 14 games for Florida. So there we go. He also did agree with you on the over, like, just, you know, dwelling the puck too long in either zone. But yeah, Chris, I want to get your view on this, and I'll come in with a hot take as usual.
No, I find it really, really interesting that a couple of weeks ago, a couple of episodes ago, we're talking about, we've got so many home games coming up. We've been on the road all season. You know, now we've got these home games. Now I've just seen what our home games bring. You know what I mean? Fact is, we're just not good enough. That's the bottom line. I mean, we're a hard-working team. We concede too many. We don't score enough goals. And in the big moments, as Colin pointed out, if you take Uli out of the game, we just don't have quality. We don't have guys in the clutch who are going to bring out put the puck in the net. And that's the difference, you know, from us in Sheffield, for example. We just don't have the quality. Hard workers, but not enough quality in front of the net.
Yeah, I guess I feel like
see on like Chris saying, like, we don't have quality players like Sheffield to put the puck in the net, and that's the other thing. And I know it's really starting to get on everybody's nerves, like Corey talking about how good a team Sheffield are, and even to Murph as well. Like, that was really.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up in a minute, but yeah, I mean, Phil was going nuts over the commentary. Yeah.
Oh, this the treble winners, this and all that. Like, see, on the night, they were no better than us. Like, in my opinion, they were no better than us. And then the coach comes out afterwards and says what an amazing team Sheffield are. It's starting to wear thin.
He says that. Do you know why he says that? Because he can't turn around and say how shite we are. He's complimenting other teams. Do you know why they look good? Because we're garbage. That's why they look good.
But
they make someone average.
Sheffield have been look good. I don't think Sheffield
didn't look great. The thing is, like you say, look, here's my thing. The one positive thing from the weekend was actually in Corey's interview. I don't know if you heard it. I think it was after the Manchester game. He said we're making every bully look like he's playing in the NHL, right? But, and I'm glad that he's finally just, you know, this is all I wanted. Yeah, Halibut. Yeah. He said, he named Halibut. But again, the point. Here's the thing, right? And I think this has been evident all season, and I've been consistent in this, that I know some people on Twitter disagree and they think we're a better watch. I've never said, I don't think we're a great, well, I don't think we have been a great watch this year. I just don't agree that we're an exciting hockey team to watch. We're not. I think the Storm game just highlights that. It's like, and Cody will talk about, we dominated the puck. It's like, you dominate the puck, but we're not threatening, right? And I said that, see 5-on-5 particularly, or if we're not turning the puck over high, we just look like we don't have any ideas, right? We're just, it's almost like you're just like, I'm going to point to where I'm going to pass the puck first before I pass it. So it's like, so the thing is, you're not working it. So I just think that look, if you go through it, right, I think, and I know there's some debate about the goaltending, and I think I've been consistent in this. I'm not saying Landon Bow is a disastrous goalkeeper as the reason we're not doing well. I'm just saying Landon Bow is, for this league, he's average, right? He's not above average. I don't know, he's below average. He's just bang average for the league. And that isn't going to cut it for a team like us. We need a goalie to be better than average if we're going to, because who we're competing against, we need that. He's not that. So that's one factor, right? Then you have the discipline factor where, okay, Cody, we're this, we know the identity. Chris, you told us at the start of the season, we know what we're going to get, and this is what we've seen. But what comes with that is, look, teams will figure it out and go, well, we'll use this against them. And we've got a lack of discipline here, which I think is, I was expecting Corey to make sure these guys were well drilled and understood where the line was. But we have a lack of discipline that's cost us. There's another problem in the team, right? Then we've mentioned the very much, the lack of goal threat. We've got Uli. We've managed to get him on a line where he can produce, right? We've got a lack of goal threat. And the goals, a lot of them aren't the goalie's fault. It's like we've got a leaky. So you kind of, I guess my point here is like we are just like, and we're not. You see, it's not like we are like running. See, if we're a running gun hockey team, I would say we're a great watch. We're not great. We're not a good team, but we're a great watch because it is running gun and it's exciting and it's end to end and you live and die by the sword. We're not like that. We are overly controlled. We don't have a lot of flair or ideas. We're predictable, and when I go through all those, do you think about all the things you think about the components?
You have the special teams, mate, as well. Like the
special exactly. Teams you go through those things, Colin. You go all those things. I name. Okay, discipline. It's been really, really poor. Right, goalie, average at best. Right, what attacking threat. Do we have snipers, guys that can be clutching them? Lack it. So you're kind of going through, going, what is it about the team? You're not saying, oh, we're defensively brilliant. We don't concede many goals. We only need to score 2 to win. We're not that kind of team, right? We're not a team that's going to outscore a team. They score 4, we'll score 6. So you're starting to look at it objectively going, like, Cody, like, there has to be a coming to and a moment there. I'd rather more from that. Like, where I don't like this, like you say, Phil, they're a great hockey team. Well, but they're not that good. They're just not that good, right?
It's the stats, though. Do you not think you can micromanage?
We had the puck all night. We had this all night. And it's almost like I say, realizing we need to be better. I'm glad he said we need to solve instead of making these goalies look good. That's the most honest thing you said in months, Corey. That's the problem here, right? And that's partly your job to do that. So, Chris, sorry, mate, I know you got a hand up, but I was in a rant.
Yeah, no, you're all good, mate. Yeah, I was just, you're talking about the style of hockey which Corey brings, Ross. It reminds me a bit about watching Jose Mourinho. See, when you're winning games, the style, you put up with that style because you're winning games. See, when you're not winning games, it looks bland as hell. You know what I mean? Right. I'm watching really bland hockey right now.
Yeah, it's really. If remember Fitzy season, remember we had that run. We were top. We were absolutely flying. And we were all kind of like, we said. I remember saying that we're like, we know we kind of shouldn't be winning these games, but we are, and we're fucking delighted, right? Mm-hmm. I think that this team is like, there's been some. I just don't know what people are seeing. Where I go watch that team and go, oh yeah, like looking at the teams where I always barometer, like I watch the teams they play against and kind of go, who are we a better watch than in the league? If you go like, you go like that, you don't have an affinity to any team. You rank the teams. Who would you pay money to watch? We're going to be right down there with Fife and Manchester.
But we don't. Like, I took Laura on Saturday night, right? So we went to the Sheffield game because we got the kids watched, and Laura had said, one, that the goalkeeper was rubbish, and she doesn't watch a lot of hockey, and two, she said that the other team seemed to be able to pass tape to tape, but everybody else, our passing seemed to be there and getting cut out all the time. The passing wasn't there. And see, when you actually watched it, I watched it against Manchester. We seem to do that same diagonal pass all the time, and all they do is put a centreman on, who catches it and drops it, and they've turned it over. So there's a lot of times that we seem to do all these little drop passes and everything else. But going back to your point as well, Ross, just slightly, see when you listen to Corey's interviews, he seems to talk as if he's micromanaging the stats. So he's like, we had 80 shots, we done this, and we held more possession of the puck, and we played really well. And you're like, what game were you watching? It was utter dross. but he picks the stats that make it look good when it isn't actually that great. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think he's a wee bit.
He's kind of boring.
You know, he's actually there's a little bit of like underlying arrogance, like in terms of like that annoys me a little bit, where he's kind of like he's smarter than the people and it's like, yeah, I'm glad he did say as well, like at some point we've got to put points where you look, Cody, like, you know, look, you can say about process, you think we're playing well, Cody, you think we're dominating the puck and all that, and go, what does it matter if we're not scoring goals and not winning games, Phil? Like, what does it matter?
We were talking about why people, like you were saying, there's people saying that we're playing better hockey, or we're a better team than we were last year, the Morgan year. I don't know if we're playing better hockey, but we've definitely got better players, and I know that doesn't make much sense.
No, I agree with that, Phil. I agree with that.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Because I mean, this year we've got like Ule, Dupree, Finlay. This is guys that I would still take back the now. And I said this to you, see if we finish rock bottom, I would take them back. See, last year, I mean, me, Phil, Dyson, Lover, I wasn't even wanting Dyson back, really, last year. That's how bad things got. So, yeah, maybe that's what I think. It's not we're playing better hockey. I think the point they're trying to make is we've got better players, but something's just not working or happening for the players that are there.
Yeah, I think we've all agreed on that as well. I've said that a lot. I know that we have better players. I just don't. Yeah, it's the product. Like you say, it's what you're paying to watch is just like it's just so vanilla.
See, to be honest, Ross, right? Like the first period, 2 periods that we're getting from our team, most games, is better than any periods we were getting for that lot. For a lot at the start of the season and a lot at the back end of the season. We had a wee spell where we picked up. Do you know what I mean? So, like,
but I guess my question for this:
I think they are a better watch this year. I still do. Not by much, but I think.
What I mean is, like, if I was to compare, I would compare it more to when Dyson took over, because what you started to get is effort, right? That to me, that was a big difference. All of a sudden, he managed to get the guys, you know, believing a bit, putting a bit of effort, and all of a sudden it was like, oh, this is actually okay. So I'm not saying it's like it's. I'm just saying we're just. What I'm getting at, Phil, is like I'm not comparing it to last year. I'm saying, are we a good, like, do I get the style of hockey we play? Does it excite me? Not one bit. It honestly doesn't, right? I don't. It really doesn't. I don't think we're that excited. Has it been the odd game that ignites? Yes, that happens. But I'm just talking week to week to week. I don't think. Like, I think Dundee are a better watch than we are. That's what I think. Yeah. I think they're a better.
Well, look at Dundee. They put. If you look at additions, right? Philip Sanch, or Philippe, however you want to put it, and the guy Naz, Spencer Naz, who I had said that we really should have went after. Both of them are over a point a game, right? We've got Berry, who's 7 points in 13. I mean, like, says a lot. They had 2 additions that have made a huge impact in their both point production and scoring, and ours have done nothing. So, like, for me,
I'd imagine, Colin, that Berry's point production per game is similar to quite a few of our forwards. Would it be right in saying that?
No, points per game, like some of them, they're all on. The only one that's over a point a game is Ule, but we've got one guy in the top 20, which is Ule. We've got 2 guys in the top 30, and we've got 4 in the top 40 in the league, right? Manchester have 2 in the top 10, 2, right? And Manchester are below us just now. Dundee have 3 in the top 20. So that tells you a lot about where we sit offensively in the league. But when you look at it, the league has, to Phil's point, I think we have got better players, and we are better than we were last year. But the league has moved on, and as the league stretches and we don't keep up with it, they then move further adrift. So have we improved? I'd say yes, we have, but we've not improved as much as we have to improve to keep up with the guys. We had to make a huge jump to even get to mid-table from last year, and we've not made that jump. We've not transitioned to the style of hockey that is going to be effective in the league, and we've not got the players or the balance of the players to be effective going forward. That is the biggest problem
I
we
just don't know
face.
that I'd buy into the league's better. Fife are worse. Dundee are similar. Manchester are probably a bit worse. Coventry a little bit better. Guildford a little bit worse. And like net, Nottingham a bit. Honestly, I don't know that. I think that's the weird thing, Con. I think, like you said, like we're, do we have better players? Yes, I agree. Are we better? Are we better watched compared to last year? Yes, because there's at least a baseline of effort in games that I think wasn't there last year. Are we a good watch? No, I don't think we are. Is it winning hockey? Not at the moment. It's not net. It's not. We're sitting where we are because it's where we are. Exactly. Right. So I'm kind of looking at it going like, Sheffield last year, that might be the best team that I've ever seen in the EIHL. Ever. They were unbelievable last year.
So they've got a big core for last year, and they're not the same team anymore.
Yeah, but you get that often with whenever it can happen as a drop. It's a sport, right? But what I mean is that I'm just looking at it, going, we are not like it's the way that we're approaching this. This was always my concern, and I did say I'll wait till after Christmas. Is like, do I think this type of hockey is winning hockey in this league? I don't think that it is. I think when I look at other teams, when you look at what Guildford have done. And I did think somebody made a good point. I can't remember who it was. I'll try and find the name. This idea of like, I do think, look, there's an element of like change has been the constant at Clan. So I'm very reluctant to change the coach or anything like that. I'm very, very reluctant to be one of those people that's crying for that now. But what I would say is, I do hate this kind of like, oh, they need to be given, 2 or 3 years. You go, well, no, look, Nottingham changed their coach and they're doing better. Coventry changed their coach, they're doing great. It's like, you mean, so it's like it's not that it's like really hard to go and fight. You got to find somebody that's got the right, and we, from what we believe, have had a good amount of money invested. That's where I see it. I'm like, we can all see we are getting guys of a caliber that we maybe haven't had before, and that's why it's so frustrating, Phil. Right, where you're going, we know some of these guys go, wow, these are upgrades, but we're not any better collectively.
Yeah.
Like, what's your thought on that, Phil? Then I'll bring Chris in.
Just see, I was just thinking when you were talking there about the level of the league and people saying that the level's much higher, and I agreed with that for a long time. But we had victories over the top 4, all of them in the first half of the season. So that would suggest that the league's not get better, because
it's not.
The team, us, that's languishing down in 8th, 9th, 8th, has beaten the top 4, like probably after playing them all twice. We beat them all at least once. And I think we beat Belfast twice now, haven't we?
Yeah. Dundee beat Belfast as well.
Yeah, so I agree with that. The league has not, it's not stretched out, but for the reasons you spoke about again, the reason we feel that the league must have improved is because our team is, for me, not significantly improved, but it's improved a fair bit compared to last year, and we're still nowhere. So maybe that's been a wee mind trick on us where we're actually at. So, yeah.
Yeah, Chris, I'll bring you in now, Chris. I know how critical you were of the D at the start of last year. You saw it, you were like, and then this year, definitely some improvements, maybe a bit light in numbers. What's your take in this whole discussion we're having?
Well, I just come back to what you were saying there. You're talking about Corey and stuff, and I'm with you in that. I believe we need to, you can't maintain a hire and fire approach to the coach every year. However, if he finishes out of the playoffs again for the club in the second year in a row, does that put Corey's position under pressure, do you think?
Well, there was questions along those lines on Twitter, Chris. A great question. I mean, I can answer. I should it put. So this is Corey's first season. Should it, based upon, I'm just thinking, what I try and think about is what did he inherit? Okay, he inherited a steaming pile of shite. He has, I think the problem that Corey has, to be honest, Chris, where I think probably Jason Morgan didn't have this, if it was as equal as last year or similar to last year, I'd give him more leeway, is he was very vocal and adamant from the get-go. This is my team. I've been out where I've not been able to recruit my own players. So I think sometimes, coach, you put yourself in the way of things then, right? Because this is what I mean about people talk about Gareth and that. It's like, look, there's nowhere else to go for anything that you're seeing on the ice this season, bar Corey Nielsen. That's the only place. It's like the buck stops there, which is, I prefer that. We know exactly who it is. It's you, Corey, right? And that's the roster you've assembled. To your point, Colin, the players you've moved on and then brought in to replace them, right? That they're all the people that you're picking, right? And isn't it telling that the players he moved on were the only players that he probably didn't pick because they were existing players, right? Okay, so that's telling. So it's all on Corey. So the problem is, Chris, that my opinion is I think we have to give him another season. I just think we got to back it and hope that he can improve and get better. That's my opinion. But because of what I just said, I do think that you could argue he needs to go because...
Well, you're saying, Ross, it's his first season. I get that. But the reality is he's got more years experience being a coach in the AIHL than any other coach in the league right now. Right. Yeah. So this is no rookie. This is no Jason Morgan we're talking about here, right? Who's completely new to the league. This guy knows the British ice hockey better than anybody. And this is the team he's putting on the ice. So. And
the thing is, Chris, when you make that point, which is a great point, it's like you put all that together. The reason you hire Corey Nielsen after the Jason Morgan and the other coaches is because you go, this is a surefire. Like, this is somebody that's got some chop. Like, if you look around the league and go, how do the coaches stack up? You go, right, we've got somebody that experience-wise, like you say, working with the British team, like you're going, checks all the boxes, right? And I think this is what I mean. And then it's my own team. I recruit all the players, very, very bullish and almost a little bit arrogant about the way that they're going to play. And it's like and a reluctance to kind of change and adapt to me. It puts you in a bad spot, right? Again, I'm still going to say, personal opinion, I just think we need to write another season and hope that he can learn and improve. But Phil, what do you think? Do you think he's on a shaky pit? Then Colin, I'll bring you in, mate.
I'd bag him.
You'd bag him now?
Bag him.
I love that. Phil's just like the Grim Reaper. Just
I'm afraid feel stuck up for Gareth and then bags Corey like that.
I'd bag him. He's been out coached.
Bring Dyson back, Phil.
Sorry?
Bring Dyson back. I'm all for it.
No, he's been out coached every single week. He can't get the players. He can't control his players. He seems a hard ass when, well, you can see the clan guy interviewing him, just freaking terrified to ask him anything. He seems a hard ass there, but these players just go out and anytime they go behind, they spit the dummy out and they just start taking bodies and doing stupid shit. We've got all the potential in the world to be a top 4 team in this league, and I just don't think he's the man. I don't think he's the man to do it now. Like I don't want to get the scatter gun out because I've been flipping back and forward, and this has been great and that's great, but really you need to measure things over the course of a season. And we had an absolute terrible start of the year. We done okay. Let's just take that first half there. We had a terrible start, an okay wee middle, and then we started to tail off. We've tailed off ever since Christmas. I think the only teams we've bet is Belfast once and Fife, maybe. Yep.
Guildford at home.
Diabolical.
Yeah, the Guildford. Yeah, you're right. Yep.
Yeah, sorry, Guildford. But that's what, many games? That's like probably 3 wins in 10 games or something.
2 and 10.
2 and 10.
2 and 10 overtime loss, plus an overtime loss. We've got 5 points.
And by the way, things don't look like they're going to get better. I know that he's saying, we just need a bounce here and a bounce there. Bullshit. We've been up 2-0 in the last 3 or 4 games. Like, you don't need a bounce here. You're 2 up. You need to be able to. The game management is diabolical. Like, absolutely diabolical. The players have no bottle, like, whatsoever. And at the end of the day, it's all his guys, as you said, Ross. The buck stops with him. I'd bag him again, and I don't like this revolving door, but if you want to blame somebody for where we are in the league, it's no Gareth. It's his name escapes me.
Corey. It's Corey. Is it Coach
It's
Nielsen?
Corey. It's Corey Nielsen.
It's totally ruined your rant
What
because
I
you
was
forgot who
totally-
you're slagging
I
off.
was thinking Gareth. It's nothing to do with him. Like Corey's got to be responsible. I reckon. See if we don't make the playoffs, I reckon he would walk anyway. I think he's that type.
Okay, Colin, what do you think?
I'm kind of stuck between you and Phil, to be fair. I think like you can't just constantly have this rotating door because I mean, but then there's another part of me thinking, what if we give him another year and we're in the same position this time next year? So it's like, is he too stubborn to change his ways? There's a part of me, without sounding ageist in any way, shape or form, if you look at the teams that are in the top 5, their managers are a lot younger. They're all guys who are younger, not long out of the game, and they've got a different style of hockey they play. And if you look at the teams that are at the bottom, it started with the old boy Cullen. There was us, there was the old boy from Manchester. Lefebvre, I mean, he's been in the game a while, but he's not probably as young as the top 4 or 5. The only one that's a bit of an anomaly is the boy Dixon from Guildford. But even then, they've not been setting the world on fire. So if you look at the teams that are really doing well, their coaches are a younger generation. And there's a part of me thinking, would you go there? But then, I'm kind of stuck because, like, as much as it frustrates me, every year we're rebuilding, every year we're doing something, and it's like, when does it stop? Like, because do you take that chance and then it goes, or is he that stubborn that he's not? Because I don't see a plan B. Every time something goes wrong in a game, we don't seem to change anything. We don't seem to like shore up and try and be compact and try and like stem the blood flow. We tend to like just be pure erratic and go all over the place. And when you look at that, even like the power play setup is pretty abysmal. It's quite a boring power play. We had one shot in a 5-on-3. One.
Yeah.
Right? So when you look at that, you're thinking, we've seen this the same throughout the year and there's no plan B. It's the first sign of madness, is continuing to do the same thing and expecting a different result. So I'm kind of really on the fence. There's a part, when I'm watching games like that, I would have fired every day in the building that night. I wouldn't have cared, but I was so angry when I left, right? But when you think about it, like, you're thinking, right, he's done something in the past, but is he willing to change? So the additions he's brought in haven't really given me much.
So what's your decision, Colin? Are you
I know.
I'm sticking to it.
I don't know. I really don't know.
Can I come in there with just a couple
Phil.
of Colin says? No, Colin just says that he doesn't know because is he too old to change his ways? I don't want somebody to come in and change their ways. I want because if you do that, then you're getting into the unknown again because the coach is coming in and doing something that's not his way. I want a guy to come in and do it his way, but I want that way to be the right way.
Pete Russell, mate. That's what you want. You want
I
Pete
don't
Russell.
want Corey to change his ways to try and emulate these other managers. That just tells me he's not good enough. So you move on to somebody. Like Corey was supposed to come in, and I said this at the time, it sounded like a safe appointment. It's turning out a pile of shit as it stands unless we win the playoffs. So, I just wanted to talk about that. Come in, if he can't change his ways. I don't want that. I want a guy to come in and I want us to do it the way he wants to do it, and I want it to be successful. That's the coach I want.
I guess, and Chris, I'll get you to answer your own question in a second, but I think Corey's certainly the line that I was hearing from his post game of the weekend, or what I took from it was like, in his opinion, it's like you get the trust the process chat, trust the process. He's very much in that camp. But did say, like, we need to stop making goalies look like they're all fucking world beaters. and have Murph just going, "Oh, Greenfield, oh God, Greenfield." It's like, Jesus Christ, guys! Like he's playing in this fucking league for a reason, right? He's look. Don't get me wrong, he makes some great saves, but do you know what it is? All ice hockey goalies, there's something. Whether it's their 5-4, whether it's the shorts, there's things you do, there's things you can do to take their eyes away. Like we're just not doing those things, and but yeah. Yeah, that's what he seems to be peddling. But Chris, what do you think? If you were in charge, if you're the new GM and you come in tomorrow, mate, and the Clan say, "Chris, you're in, big fella. Are you going to bullet Corey at the end of the season?" Are you saying, "Big man, not for me"?
I think the next couple of months is going to be crucial to him and to the club.
If he finishes 9th, do you fire him?
It's a tough one. I'm not going to give you 10 minutes and then call on and then no make a decision. I'll just say I don't know.
Never got to finish my decision.
Just say yeah. No, I'm going to come back to you, Colin. Give me time to think, mate. Yes or no? I want a yes or no. I'm saying I would stick because I think and Phil, I don't disagree with what you said either. But I would, yeah, I would. I just think another change. I don't know. Yeah.
If he finishes 9th, yes. If he doesn't, then I would stick.
Okay, Chris.
What do you mean if he finishes 9th? What? Keep
He's
him?
calling to get rid of him. Get rid of him. All right, Chris. 9th.
Yeah, I think. Listen, our owner hasn't got to where he's got in life by not making decisions.
Accepting mediocrity.
He's not synonymous with failure in his business life, and that'll be 2 seasons in a row where the bare minimum hasn't been achieved. So with that in mind and putting yourself in the owner's position, I'll say change.
Can I come in?
Yes.
If things continue the way they are, it's not going to be a decision. He'll be bagged and that's that because folk won't renew. See unless things pick up. Yeah. Like people are already talking about no renewing and all that sort of shite. So Mickey will bag him and get somebody else in. And then we'll just rinse and repeat. We'll all be buzzing and full of hope. And we'll be can't wait for the pre-season friendlies and we'll be buying all the merch and all that shite that goes with it. And yeah. But at least we'll have a new, and we'll have no Gareth to blame as well. So I don't know.
New GM, new direction. You might find that if someone
on that, Colin, who would you? There was a question I think from Ed, our good friend Eddie Squires. We love you, Eddie. They always bring up some good points. Said who would you guys like? He said he'd love Finnerty. Can't see it happening. Maybe Fitzy or Matt Keith. He said he thinks he would if you like. He thinks Woody would be too soft for that role.
I'd go with Paul Eddy. See the guy, he rinsed the league at one point. He knows the league. He's a friend of Murph's as well. There's a working relationship there. I would go with somebody like Paul Eddy, or like what we do need is someone that's I don't mean like a hard-nosed experienced guy, but someone that can really lead by example, that kind of way. You need someone that is really going to take the bull by the horns and look at loads of little things that matter. Like, don't get me wrong, the on-ice production, like, see when we do the in-rush and it's got the fire and everything else, that's outstanding, right? There's no doubt about it. But it's like a bit of a, like, polishing a turd when you actually see it and it's all amazing, and then the on-ice product's the way it is just now. They need to get the on-ice product right. That's what they need to concentrate on. See all this glitz and glamour now? They need to concentrate on the on-ice product. So whoever comes in has to be a strong hockey-minded person.
Well, listen, on that, Chris, I want to get your opinion on this because it's got me thinking about the appointment of a GM. And again, to Eddie's point, I think Eddie's mind's gone where my mind has gone, where he's thinking Fitzy, Matt Keith, Woody. He's going to the ex-player. He looks like it's going to be a hockey guy, right? They're going to get a proper hockey guy. I remember us talking about this, Chris, and I'm pretty sure you said this, like Corey might not be the easiest person to work with or something like that, right? Given his character and personality. Like, Chris, what do you think this could be a problem for Corey if they bring somebody in like that, who's obviously there to be more involved and hold him more accountable and maybe have input, that there could be friction there?
I think when you're sitting as low as we are, there will be friction, whether it's Gareth Chalmers, Stevie Chalmers, or somewhere in between. And I think whether, whoever that appointment is and whoever Corey reports to directly, he will be under pressure. If he's sitting in 8th or 9th in the league, there's no question.
Yeah, I just wonder whether being a hockey person, Phil, if you think, like, to me, they're going to have an opinion on the way that we're doing things. The players are, to me, that's part of their job as a sage. And the problem is if Cody's gone from, well, wait a minute, I've come here, I'm talking about I can control everything and I like that and I want to control everything today. It's like, well, we're changing the tape, we're changing the goalposts a wee bit here because ultimately you've cocked it up here, big man, right? Yeah, that could create friction, do you think?
Yeah, with Corey, 100%. That's probably, well, yeah, I 100%. Just for somebody new coming in.
A fresh set of eyes.
See in my mind when you're asking me to answer that, Corey's not here next year. In my mind, that's the way I'm kind of seeing it now. So I think we need like not an ambassador, but somebody with the boots in the ground, somebody that's here. This is the thing, like, you're either going to have to poach somebody for another club from the UK, or you're going to have to pay them to move house. And so it's going to be like another high-profile player's wage.
But these guys do that for a living anyway, don't they? I mean, hockey players don't stay anywhere for so long. They move around constantly. So that the hockey guy, if it's going to be somebody like that, then would be used to that movement.
You're imagining them a bit older than that, Colin.
But that's what I'm saying. But even if he's older, like, you're going to a job for I'd imagine for a couple of years. You're not going to just for the summer. You know what I mean?
And all that stuff. Whereas the likes of, like, for instance, if you're freeing up Gareth's wage, he already stayed here and all that stuff. You know what I mean? I don't think the Clan would have been paying for his digs.
Whoever's going to come in is going to have to do the arena too. They're not going to just have to do the hockey. They're going to have to do the shebang. So someone's going to have to. I mean, I don't know.
We don't know that. Again, we don't know that.
We could separate the two of them. Yeah.
We could. It'd be interesting to see what now it's been a GM role. That'll be interesting to see. We did get a question. Our good friend Andy Robertson, so big. He's the drummer down in Solway, right? Actually, interesting enough, if folks follow the Solway Sharks, if you don't, you should good link with the club, and it links to the question there. Actually, in a very similar spot to the Clan. I think they're sitting 8th and just on the brink of the play. They're in the playoffs just now, but it's very tight. Do we think there's a chance to give any of the two-way play? Do we think because somebody made a point about like third, fourth line just has been absolutely redundant like this season in terms of like contributing, like really, really, really poor compared. I think somebody, who was it? Did I watch something or read something? I think, again, honestly, I've read so many comments, folks, and thank you for that. I can't even remember, but I think somebody made the point about Lakovic, and I think I was making this point about Pelic and Hayden as well earlier in the season, is you got Lako last season, who I can't remember the numbers, but his numbers last year were unbelievable in terms of contribution points-wise. Mm-hmm. Off a cliff this year. Similar story for him, and you're kind of going, how can all three guys who have made meaningful contributions completely fall off a cliff, playing in the same league, in the same team? Okay, different coach, different teammates. You start to look at that, right, and go, geez, so you're looking at those lines and going, would there be any harm in giving some of the two-way, these youngsters, to shake things up? Phil doesn't look convinced.
Nah, not for me, mate. We're in crisis mode now. So I just don't think that there's any breathing room to bleed anybody in.
It probably doesn't benefit them, Phil, right?
We've got a spare import or two, one.
Yeah, but does it even benefit these young guys coming in a team that's playing the way we, probably not, right?
Well, I think it will. They'll learn a lot in the games, but we're not.
I don't know.
It'd be toxic. It'd be hot. I mean, at the moment, we've got a chance of staying where we are, right? See, if you're in Fife's position, then do that all day long because it's not going to matter any. But at the moment, it can be quite toxic. It could be quite toxic for the young guys coming in. Do you know what I mean? Because like the other night, there was a lot of venom at the end of the game. Like, and I think having the younger guys coming in, it wouldn't do their confidence any. Do you know what I mean? Because if you see the rest, I mean, look at our players with their heads down and everything else. Like, that's not going to do these young guys any good. I don't think it's a good time to do it, to be honest. I don't know when a good time would be, but I don't think this is the time to do it. To be honest, I think it would have a a negative effect.
Yeah, I agree with you, Connor. I don't think it's the right. I think, yeah, I don't think it's the right time. Look, I know it was going to be a long one tonight. Look, we did get asked a question again. I can't remember who it was by, but I guess look, I'm not going to finish usually looking ahead. I know we got the Fife double heading. Is it Wednesday and then is it Saturday? Yeah, is that right?
Yeah.
Wednesday, Saturday, isn't it? So both home games. So I'm assuming it was a must win on Sunday. We didn't win it. I know we got a point, but got to win those games. But where did looking at, and I've had a look at the fixtures, right? Right to the end of the season. Look, the reality is now, boys, we are, probably 3-4 weeks ago, we were talking about where we might finish and could it be a little bit higher up. Now the reality is kicked in that we know we're going to finish 7th, 8th, or 9th. So that's how it looks right now. Unless there's some kind of miraculous turnaround and we go in we win 12 games in a row or something. Where do you think we finish? We've just had a fresh look at Manchester. We're overly familiar with Dundee, right? I've had a look at the run-ins, and there's not from what I've seen, I don't think there's a huge advantage, right? That I've seen going, oh yeah, we've got to play Fife like 5 times, and they play them once. Not a massive advantage. These 2 5 games are critical, though. Where do we think the Clan finished this year? Was the question.
8th.
Holland saying 8th. Phil?
Well, Dundee have got a stretch now, and Fife aren't a given anymore. Look at the game against Belfast. They brought it back to 5 each, and they only get beat with a minute to go.
Phil?
9th. I think Storm will catch us. Dundee, I know we're in front of us, but if we win more games now.
Look at 4-point weekends. We didn't.
Yep.
Yeah.
Chris?
Yeah, 8th.
You go 8th.
Mm-hmm.
I've got to believe.
As much as Fife have improved, they haven't won a game yet. And as I said to you guys in the chat, if you put in the right effort mentally as well as physically, you'll beat them. Because the signings that they have made are guys, who have had no reputation in any league I've seen. They're signing guys that nobody else wants, ultimately. So
remember Edinburgh, Chris? That we should have went through Edinburgh and beat Edinburgh, and that didn't happen. Hockey's a funny game, man. I wouldn't take it as a given.
Top of 5, so if we put the right effort in, both mentally and physically and tactically, we'll beat them.
Yeah, okay. I think we'll finish. I'm going to go 7th. I've got to believe we can. I've just got to believe we can. Look, the thing is, we had that good stretch. It was at 6 in a row. We've, like you say, Phil, we've beaten Belfast, and there has been just those odd nights where you just go, there's something in this team, but that's just been so, to me, few and far between in terms of those nights where you really believe, but I've got to believe that we've find some rekindle and recapture some of that somehow over this kind of home stretch. Anyway, look, I think we'll finish with
musical statues. We'll see if we can do the same.
What you're saying. So but look,
looks so good as it does now.
I know, looks great, but look, boys, it's been
he's back in his phone. Look, you can see him.
There you go. Yeah, it's been a good.
Back with us, Philip.
Yeah, he'll be there in a minute. It's been a good venting sesh. I think. And obviously the time we used, made it extra juicy and probably made us go a little bit even longer than we thought we would. But look, all we've got to hope for is, like you say, Chris, I think you're absolutely nailing the head. I think you're right. If you apply yourself against Fife, you will win. The risk is, you're mentioning Edinburgh, that's the risk is you don't apply yourself properly. Sport's a funny thing, and that's what, look, 2 home games. I'd be more worried if one of them was in Fife. I think, the guys have got to really go after what happened at the weekend, and I think they'll be hurting and feeling like they know they've got to go and lay a marker down, and they don't know those games are critical. And then it takes in a stretch of games, against teams a little bit further up the table, where we're going to have to try and steal some points off those teams that are doing better than we are for sure. But look, let's hope. I think probably as a Clan fan, to finish on a positive, as we like to, is the most exciting thing is obviously looking now. We do get a new signing. It's maybe not what we want to see in terms of an on-ice signing, but we're going to get. It looks like we're going to get a GM. Be very interested to see your Chris. Maybe get those. I know we keep the pigeons in your garden, don't we? So if you want to just make sure we get the carrier pigeons out from Clan for the Stan HQ, Let's get them out and see what names. Yeah,
very exclusive.
Yeah, very exclusive. So we'll get the pigeons out, and we'll see if we can get some names and obviously share those with folks if we start to hear some rumors of different folks' names for that GM role, because I think that is arguably the most exciting thing at the moment at the club is who we're going to bring in and then what might they do to shake things up and change our fortunes. But anyway, listen, boys, always a pleasure. As always, folks, again, overwhelmed and appreciative of all the commentary, the conversation. Love seeing conversations between fans as well. That's what it's all about. We're trying to drive conversations here because we all love the club. We love ice hockey. As usual, thanks for listening to it. Please share. And Phil has set up a new YouTube channel. He's very, so just so everyone knows, this is, I think we finished because this is a big deal. So Phil, as you all know, I didn't mention anything, Phil, but the boys might have pointed out some issues. Phil is not renowned for his.
He puts the IT in shite.
He's not been the most tech-savvy member of this crew, right? He's a little bit old school in a number of ways, which is why we love him. But he decided, you know what, I'm going to take, and I think he did a 5-week intensive course on how to use his laptop, and now he's ready, and he's managed to get Clam for the Stands. Now, listen, I've not checked it, so I will have to check to make sure that it's actually operating. It's on an old version of YouTube in the dark web or something. We just don't know. I'll definitely have a look at that and find out, Phil. But yeah, I'll give you a 30-second. You plug for your YouTube channel, Phil, that you made. So well done, mate.
Yeah, we'll get the link set up below with we're putting the post on, and that will take you straight to the video version that Ross will kindly send me over, and we'll get that up probably early doors first thing tomorrow. And yeah, you can see all our ugly faces in the big screen now.
There we go.
So like, subscribe, and tell all your mates about it.
Yeah.
There he is. There's a salesman. There he is. Well done, Phil. There we go.
That's a nice introduction to your OnlyFans, Phil. So,
Mate, it flowed too smooth, didn't it? Make some noise. Make some noise for the algorithm.
That's it. Okay, listen, boys, always a pleasure. Thanks again to everyone. And as we always say at the end, I know that we don't all believe it, but we've got 2 winnable games. Monda Clan.